Y'all hold on.
How you doing, Tom?
Good. How are you? It's good for me.
Did you say the same time?
15.
Are you going to tap twice? Not do the floor is now open. You want me to go ahead?
However, yes, it's
You can call us to order and then do that. I think you can call us to order and then suggest. Say that has some. I mean, you're still the chair until we find a new chair.
everybody ready? Everybody ready?
Yes.
The floor is now open for nominations for chairman.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Brewer.
I second that.
Other nominations?
Call the vote.
Go ahead and call. Yes, ma'am.
In my face, sorry. Ms. Peters?
Yes. Or I?
Either one will do.
Okay.
Dr. May?
Aye.
Mr. Isaacs? And Mr. Fleming?
Aye.
Ms. Brewer, are you passing or?
I'll vote aye. Well, thank you all very much. The floor is now open for nominations for vice chair.
Nominate Mr. Isaacs.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Thank you. Ms. Perkins, would you care?
I have two. Ms. Peters?
I.
Dr. May?
Aye.
Ms. Brewer?
Aye.
Mr. Fleming?
Aye.
Mr. Isaacs?
Thank you all very much for your confidence. So I'd like to welcome everyone to our November Elizabethton City Schools Board of Education meeting. Happy Thanksgiving early. I'd like to welcome, we have some teachers in the audience and their families. Very happy that, and some proud children in the audience. And also Mr. Tester, thank you for being here. If everyone would stand, Mr. Alexander is going to lead us in the pledge of flag in a moment of silence.
We'll have our moment of silence first. Please pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. Attention. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Time for citizens to speak in accordance with Board Policy 1.404. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come forward, state your name and address.
My name is North Day. I live at 210 East G Street, and I am here in regard to the name of the new stadium. I appreciate what Citizens Bank has done, but it is a Cyclone Stadium, not a Citizens Bank Stadium. And I think that may be Citizens Bank Field, but I still think it should be EHS Cyclone Stadium. And I've talked to a lot of people about this, and they all seem to be of the same opinion. So I'd like to take that under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. It's time to approve the consent and regular agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
What's the timetable for textbook selection?
Mr. Van Huss?
We have to have that information into the State Department by April the 15th. So our intention is to have a selection made by the March board meeting for your consideration. That's the timeline at this point. At this point, the committees have been formed, and I think that's one of the things we're asking for approval today. Those include parents per change in the state law. So it doesn't tell you how many need to be on there. So we've basically selected one parent from each school.
Do we have a public viewing of the textbooks?
That's always available. Anyone's welcome to do that. We obviously can't let them take those with them, but we will provide them. What we would suggest is they go to their child's school and probably call and set up a time to do that, and they can make those samples available. But yeah, that's any time.
And we're certainly staying informed of the new math initiatives and how that's going to enter into.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one option is to adopt and not purchase. That is one option that we have.
What some schools, local schools, would
correct. So that's part of the discussion we've already had, is that is an option, and so each school level committee understands that is an option that we want to consider. So.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Okay. Item on the floor is to approve consent and regular agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Mr. Alexander.
Before getting into the personnel listing, I would like to say first that Mrs. Bataille has had her baby, 8 pounds, 4 ounces, a little boy, and both are well, and we're pleased with that. We were uncertain as to if she would make it to due date, but she certainly did that in style. Next tonight is a big night for 9 individuals being recommended for tenure. This is the first time under the new guidelines that this has happened, and these are all good people. 9 good reasons why our school system was and is an exemplary system. So we'll be calling those people up in a moment, and they'll be tickled to know that after the picture's made, they can leave if they so desire, I'm sure, because they've worked hard today already. Secondly, allow me to mention the December 2 groundbreaking endeavor at 10 a.m. for the athletic complex at the EHS, and what we call, not the rain out, but the weather out date will be December 4, same time. This will involve the student body, city council members, donors, Betsy Band, of course, and Mr. Elliott readily volunteered to do that, and the rest of our community. We'd love to have you there. And Mr. Trent's going to take the picture from the lift up there, and we're hoping that we get a ton of people in town, as well as 850 children and 70 staff members there. And no, we haven't forgotten the music room, folks. That's coming too, and that will be completed at the same time, and we'll have a separate groundbreaking for that. Now, as for the last snow call, I would like to comment, maybe the public could hear that. In 9 years, I've made many snow calls, but only 2 of them started snowing right as the buses had left already to pick up children, and there was no way to call them back under the circumstances. From 4:30 to 8:15, it didn't snow or drop, and all of a sudden, kaboom, as the buses were already on the roads, that happened. And one of the citizens responded, "Does anyone up there have a brain?" I think is what their question was. And I wanted to respond to that person, but wasn't able to. Honestly, we take that very seriously, and certainly running the roads didn't help on that morning. Also, the board photo will be taken at the conclusion of this meeting. And contrary to Mrs. Perkins' comments, she thought that we were just trying to wait until we can get her in the pictures since she missed last board meeting. But anyway, that's not true. And Ms. Perkins' birthday is Friday too, and we're just going to rub it in before we leave for vacation. Next, in December, during the December meeting, we will recognize with plaques 3 of our major donors, and by then we may even have more. So we're really excited about that. Now, to the personnel update. New hires, Amber Abel, Community Involvement Coordinator, effective 10/23. Kimberly Meredith, East Side Part-Time Cook, effective 10/28. Gary Elliott, Career Interventionist, effective 11/12. You recognize him, I'm sure, and as well as Larry Heaton, also an interventionist, effective 11/12. Resignation, Chris Hambrick, Community Involvement Coordinator, effective 10/23. Let me switch right over there to Kendall Walsh, ESP Child Care Worker, effective 11/26. And also, moving right along, leave of absence, Candace Bataille, Hare McCormick Principal, from 11/17 to 4/3. Marcia Harden, EHS teacher, from 12/15/14 to 3/6/15. Also, Randy Little, T.A. Duggar Principal, from 10/28 to 11/11. Cheryl Pitts, Westside Guidance Counselor, from 11/25 to 12/12. Victoria Fox, EHS Assistant to the Teacher, from 12/4 to 12/12. We also have substitute teacher Emily Purcell, effective 11/21. Now, we also had 2 new hires, Jody Buckles, who's an LPNP RN, system-wide, effective 12/1. Ms. Perkins, did I miss any of those? Okay. Thank you.
All right. Do you have anything from anyone else on the board, or any reports or anything? All right. Time to move on to our regular agenda. First item is to approve retirement/release of contract for page 5, section 15E, request of E.C. Alexander Superintendent to be effective January 5, 2015. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second? Second. Thank you. Mr. Alexander, gave his public notice in October. He did include a written notice. He and I had talked prior to, but in looking and examining his contract, it did state that it needed to be written. So what we typically have done for any teachers that are leaving, we usually will waive the 30 days. So in this, I'm requesting that we waive the 120 days so that Mr. Alexander can retire on the date he has chosen, which is January 5th, 2015. So, any questions or comments? Okay. Item on the floor is to approve retirement/release of contract for page 5, section 15E, request of E.C. Alexander Superintendent to be effective January 5, 2015. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Next, approve per Board Policy 5.117, procedure for granting tenure, the following individuals to receive tenure status beginning the 2014-2015 school year: Alex Campbell, Julie Harris, Rachel Howell, John Jones, Jennifer Landstreet, Emily Morgenstern, Cynthia Nave, Chad Salyer, and Tabitha Wandell. I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I think we've all been looking forward to this.
If those individuals would come forward, please, with the exception, Mrs. Wandell is in Houston, I think it is, and her husband's having surgery. If they'll come forward here, please. Okay, everyone's screwed in, as they say. You get everybody in one shot. Be happy, fellas, okay?
Yeah, we had to move those in.
Thank you.
Well, we are going to do a little housekeeping and actually vote on that, so.
No. That retirement's going to your head.
I called you up too quick before we had
Ladies and gentlemen, they're going to vote on you.
Don't leave yet. Yeah.
I was just trying to move us along. That's all there is to
How
it.
about this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I won't say anything else tonight. I
Oh,
promise.
this is, you gotta have things like this. The next item is approve agreement with Integrated Care Professionals to provide telemedicine service to ECS students. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Dr. Gardner?
We are pleased and excited to have this opportunity for our students. Telemedicine is going to give us the opportunity to utilize our nurses in a new way. One of the things that Mr. Alexander has done during his tenure was to make sure that we had a nurse in every building, and I think that was something that happened over a number of years, and it has paid for itself, I think, just in the health and well-being of our children. And telemedicine is kind of that next step that we're taking to try to take care of our children. And it gives children the opportunity to not leave school. They can come to the nurse. The nurse can then make a decision whether they feel that they need to see the doctor or not. That nurse will have an assortment of medical devices that they'll use to triage that child with the help of the nurse practitioner. The nurse practitioner that's there would be someone that's local in our area, taken from Carter County, most likely, but even though we have someone local, we will also have access to other people within the same network, Kingsport, Unicoi County, those type of places. And so the student would then go through a process of, after their parent has opted in, telemedicine will bill their insurance for them for that visit, just like they would with the doctor when they're at the doctor. They would then have an opportunity, the parent would have an opportunity to be connected on the call as well, to be a part of that visit if they would like to. And as you know, we have a lot of students who the barrier for getting health care is not necessarily the fact that they do not have insurance. It's the fact that they are not being taken to the doctor at times. Time crunches, so many different things. But our real goal in doing this is to have children healthy at school. If we can cut the amount of time it will take for that child to get better once we identify that they have an illness, we have more kids at school. And the other benefit is there will also be a program that we can use for our teachers. And so we're hoping that through the savings of substitutes and other things that it's going to kind of give us a payback as well. The program is completely free to us. We, equipment-wise, at all 5 locations, it's about $250,000 investment from the company, and they will use that equipment to make sure that we have access to doctors. Now, all the nurse practitioners, of course, are supervised by a doctor. The doctor can be called at any time and come on the screen and be with them during the process of diagnosing a child if it's a very difficult thing. There are some lab-type works that we can do. We will not be drawing blood of our students, that type of thing, but they could swab for strep and do some things there. Like the otoscope, and when they have the other things, the nurse practitioner will be able to look at what's going on inside the ears of the children to actually see what's in there when they're performing that. We just need to provide an environment for that lab, a secure, safe type environment that we can carry through and do that type of thing. Now, how are they paid? They're paid through billable units of service for the children that they would normally bill to insurance. We've kind of figured out, we're looking at Carter County as a whole. All the schools in Carter County have gone with telemedicine. And so we're kind of 10 schools per pod. That means that we would have to have 2.2 kind of billable units of service per day. But what we're seeing when we present it to our nurses, we've really been seeing the fact that we're seeing a lot more than that number of kids per day that have an actual illness they need to go to the doctor for. So we feel comfortable that, as Representative Shipley said, we can float the boat, but I think that they will they will be profitable, and we can have better service for our kids. So we think it's a win-win. Does not cost us a dime. It does give an opportunity for our children to go to the doctor if they need to. And, you know, our nurses are more than happy to try to take care of the children when they're there. So it's infrastructure that was built by Mr. Alexander and the team here in the beginning, which is now going to pay off. We're in a lot better shape, and we were talking, Representative Shipley and I were talking about investments that have been made, and there's other school systems that have cut their nursing program, and it's going to be hard for them to do something like this. But we've invested in that, and we're now to the next point where we can give better care for our kids. So I think it's a great program. I think we have a little video we'll show you. It's about 2 minutes.
Dr. Gardner, do you want to comment on your having used that in Kingsport?
Just like you're saying to the doctor, you know, you're sitting there, you know, they could see me, I could see them. I was using my iPad. It took about 15 minutes. We talked over that. They called into the pharmacy my medicine that I needed. When they said, well, we'll get back with you. We'll make sure we will live talk to a person and make sure that your medicine goes in. I picked up the phone. I called the pharmacy right after they sent me confirmation that went in. My medicine was being filled. And so we're not talking about life-threatening injuries here. We'll still call 911 if we need that. We're just talking about those day-to-day things that get in the way of people's lives that we could try to help them with.
Can I ask a question or two
Sure.
before the video? What about families without insurance?
Families without insurance. That's something probably Representative Shipley can talk about. Sure.
Well, thanks for having me tonight. It's always nice seeing. Happy Thanksgiving to you. No child is ever going to be untreated. We've already covered the fixed costs of having a nurse practitioner and the equipment, so we're going to make it up in the aggregate across the system. As far as buying the medicine, now we may have to come up with a more robust plan through donations, churches, or whomever. We don't provide the medicine in any case, but we provide the clinician to make that decision. And OBGYNs, we don't play in that game. We got an STD or a pregnancy or even a UTI, that's going to be passed on. We just don't do that in the school system. Anything else?
What about, I'm sure the company assumes all liability.
Once you make, your position can speak to this specifically, but as you begin along the continuity of care, as you begin to move a patient into the system, as you hand off that patient to a higher level of care, you release your tort liability, and we assume that tort liability. Now we can't assume any liability that may have been incurred prior to misconduct of a nurse or mistreatment by the nurse, like that. But once the care segment's passed, liability goes to us.
And your employees go through a screening process, and
yeah.
I'm sure I just...
Drug test, the whole 9 yards. Same thing he would do with his, it's exact same thing in order to comply with state law. Yeah.
Ms. Brewer, may I ask one question?
Oh, absolutely.
I was reading over this material, and I noticed it said ICP is paid through health insurance coverage, and I was a little confused as to whose health insurance is this?
Everybody's.
Well, I mean,
We take it all. Last year, Representative Kelly Kiesling passed legislation that requires any insurance company operates in the state of Tennessee to recognize telemedicine and to pay for telemedicine.
mm-hmm.
So whatever their contract allows for is what we charge.
Okay. So
And-
all the children are covered?
Yeah.
All of them are?
If,
Okay.
every child's supposed to have TennCare, and to begin with. And so the TennCare well checks, that we can do those too.
Mm-hmm.
The problem we found, and he alluded to that, the phenomenon that is most disturbing, is that the state of Tennessee provides this service to our children. There should be no child that doesn't have access to health care. It just shouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it does, but not because elected officials haven't made it available. It happens because someone didn't take the time to take the child to the caregiver. Well, in this case, this child is going to be able to see a provider almost instantly. Mm-hmm. And that brings up the point of why it's so important, because we get the therapeutic dosing on board quicker. We don't send somebody home with grandma who waits for mom and dad to show up the next day in order to do that. And we know how that works. We've all been there. My grandparents picked me up from school sometimes, and she'd say, let me keep him. I'll give him some chicken soup. He'll be better tomorrow. Well, tomorrow came, and I wasn't better. So as a consequence, the whole idea is to detect the disease process early and inject into that equation medications necessary to end that disease process quickly.
We have a lot of homeless children, too. It's
Yep.
not just that the parents haven't signed up. We also have a
Right.
homeless population as well.
And we also have a lot that aren't entitled to health care, and they don't speak English. However, it's a problem for us in the school system, and we recognize that. We recognize maybe it's possible that immunizations didn't come along with those children, and they show up in the school system when they first appeared. So there's a whole complexity of issues there, a lot of moving parts. But I think generally speaking, the message I want to leave you with is that no child will go unseen. Now, what we do in that next step, where we refer them to a external specialist or the health department or to a charity group to buy the medicine, that'll have to be determined. And some of that's your call as to how far you want to go. There are some companies that make regular medications available at extremely discounted rates. And you can get a charity organization, the Optimus Club, Kiwanis Club, or anybody can chip in and help us do that. But we'll provide the technology to determine if the child's sick.
Will you anticipate dispensing medications and keeping medications on site?
If they give us, the only thing we're going to keep on site, Dr. May, is going to would be things like an antihistamine and an antibiotic. And as far as controlled substances, we're not going to issue those, period. Now, we do have some FNPs, family nurse practitioners, that happen to see geriatric patients. And they have that right, obviously, to issue controlled substances for pain, but that's only by exception. The rule of thumb inside the school system is generally no. If you're going to need a pain medication, you're going to have to go elsewhere.
So this is available for the employees as well as for the students?
It is.
And the students who are eligible for TennCare but do not have it, we run into this in my office.
Yep.
Where it's usually not that they won't take them to the doctor, so they won't fill out the paperwork.
That's right.
Because every pregnant woman is eligible as well, but we have had them fill the papers out and said, you have to turn it in, and they will not take it to the office and fill it out.
That's right.
They won't even go take it to sign. How do you handle that if someone has not done their due diligence on their part?
Well, let's talk about personal responsibility. Yeah. We have a responsibility to provide the technology to you and the clinician. You have a responsibility to help us facilitate that paperwork. Whether it's your guidance counselor, your principals, or whomever, if children are presenting who are entitled, it's a simple process to say, we want you to be seen, we want you to be treated, but you need to do your job. Now, I know it's easy to ignore that, but it costs us all a lot of money when we do that, and it gets in the way of us providing the proper care. So at some place as a community, we've got to make that decision. I can solve a lot of problems, but I can't really solve that one for you. That's one you'll have to do. Now, we'll still see those children, but we can't provide the medication for them. And that really gets to be a problem. The most important aspect of this is identifying the disease process early and getting a therapeutic dose on board quickly. And you know that as well as I do.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how you handled it when we struggle with that as well. How do we handle it when they won't follow through? But it says, from what I hear you telling me, is that you will still help with the decision support as far as seeing them. There won't be a person turned away simply because they can't cover, although you may not be able to give them a costly treatment, or otherwise you could refer them on if they won't do their portion.
Well, that's right. And we may get in a situation where we have, and I was stunned in one of the local schools in this county that presented with a barrel-chested 10-year-old boy. I was shocked. I'd never seen that in a 10-year-old before, and they had to give him a nebulizer treatment of albuterol. And it began to remedy the situation, but the child was transported emergently to higher level care. But now, when you intervene like that, you are intervening, and you're intervening appropriately, and that's a billable event, of course. But bottom line is, we're going to do everything we can to help the children as far as we can go. Ultimately, and you know this as well as I do, it comes back to a question of, do the finances match? Do they match what you can do? And at some point, you run out of a pocket. Your pocket's got a bottom to it. Yours does, mine does, everyone does. Taxpayers has one. At some point, if the system's not being utilized the way it's intended, then we've really got to back up and reassess that and see what we're doing. That could threaten a program. Your model, 5 schools, is generally speaking too small a system until I build you into Carter County, and that gives us 21 schools. So in the aggregate, that total system of Carter Countyans, including those people who live on Stony Creek, for God's sake. I always like to tell stories about Stony Creek. I had the president of our company, he was up here from Memphis, and Flatlander. So I took him to a school board meeting in Johnson County. I took him up Stony Creek. And he still talks about going up Stony Creek. It impressed him. But anyway, bottom line is, the intent here is to provide the service, and there will be nuances. There is always nuances in every school system, and we just simply have to work through those as we come to them.
I just have one quick question. It may be for Dr. Gardenauer. Administratively, how is this going to be coordinated through the staff of the nurses at each individual school, or?
It will be coordinated through the nurses. We have a head nurse, RN, Teresa Robinson, and she will be spearheading the program and making sure that we have fidelity and follow through. Her real job is going to be to make sure that we have a secure place, that we're keeping their rights intact, those types of things, and then the nurses really are going to take it from there. But there's going to be a training portion that we'll go through on all of that to make sure, but we're thinking that we'll have it in place if the board approves it this evening. We'll have it in place when we come back from school in January. They're going to deliver the technology, and we're going to be working on that, so it'll be a pretty short turnaround time.
How will we go about getting this information out to the parents? I think parental involvement would be a real key to the success of this, I would think.
So what our parental involvement plan will be, number one, we will have Representative Shipley has donated himself in real time to make sure if we need to have a meeting for parents, we can do that and answer questions. Also, obviously, the information that goes out to parents is going to have an opportunity for them to onboard with the program to say, opt in, to say, I'd really like to have this opportunity for my child or not. And then we just need to, word will get around very quickly. In certain circles, especially the fact that they can see the doctor at school, I think that that's going to be a big help, and so we, but we'll do the proper. I think that we'll probably have a news article go out in the Star and in the press. So I think it's a great opportunity. Also, with Carter County doing it as well, it'll be a unified effort.
Thank you, Mr. Isaacs. I might add that this video that you're getting ready to watch goes right on your toolbar for your school websites. And all you've got to do is notify everybody, and parents pull up on the ones that have a computer, simply play the video, and it's pretty self-explanatory. So you can see the beginning of the marketing to the parents and an explanation on the video. We might want to look at that to answer your question.
Well, the Kingsport already has a really good parent notification letter in the packet that we got.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. And a patient information form. I think these would be really good templates for you.
Right.
For us.
And you, all these things you'll get. You'll meet Dina Roloff, who's my project officer. Once we sign an MOU, she comes in and she gets right down in the details with the teachers and with the nurses. And you begin to see a lot of us as we begin to spin this thing up. But it's just a learning process for the parents. Once they understand how convenient this is, and that it really, what it does, it keeps them from having to take a day off at work. All that's been taken care of. Once the convenience of it, and then the therapeutic value of it, which I was talking to Dr. May about, once they see that and understand it, it's a huge win-win. Huge. But can we take a look at this first so we can completely answer your question?
Thank you.
As a parent myself, I understand that no parent wants their child to suffer, especially when you can't be with them right away. When students start to feel sick at school, they come to see us in the clinic. Before we had the ICP telemedicine system, we could only try to comfort them until their parents were able to pick them up. Our job is to care for these students until parents can get there, and the ICP telemedicine system enables us to offer both parents and children a modern, more beneficial solution to patient care, which saves time and helps the child feel better sooner. Thanks to ICP's technology, we are able to thoroughly examine, diagnose, and treat each child. Once we determine what is wrong with the child, we can help prevent the illness from spreading around the classroom by quickly getting the sick child their needed medication. Prescriptions are then sent to the pharmacy and ready for the parents before they even pick up their child, putting them on the road to recovery faster than ever before. This skips the additional time spent visiting a doctor's office, while offering the parents the convenience of medical care within the school system. In my 10 years of patient care, I have never seen anything that helps students as much as the ICP telemedicine tools. Being able to look inside their ears or down their throats on a large, high-definition monitor enables me to see more clearly what the problems are more effectively than if I were even there in person. This takes an already tough situation and makes it easier for everyone. As nurses, we can better treat students. As parents, it saves us time, and for the child, it speeds up their recovery. The convenience of telemedicine in our schools is also available to healthy students for sports physicals and other routine exams typically performed at a doctor's office. We are able to provide these same services, saving parents time away from work and students time out of school. No matter if a child is sick or well, ICP telemedicine helps us help you and your child. I'm grateful every day for ICP enabling me to do the best job that I can possibly do for our children.
Any other questions or comments?
Do you have any data on the cost to the plan cost that it? Do you have any data as to how you could control costs for the services that are provided? Are they on your providers? I guess I'm trying to look at.
I'm not following you.
At some point, we have to do our employees' health insurance, and at some point, I'm wondering how that affects our expend on their insurance.
Oh my goodness!
On that part.
Not to mention the fact that the encounter with your employees is about half as expensive as a doc in the box.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, and the fact that the one thing that would be readily detectable, and though we'll only have 5 months of it, you probably will be able to see it next year when you do your budget, is you cut down your substitute teacher costs. Because these teachers can come here, be treated, and they don't have to take off tomorrow to go to the doctor. And of course, same rules apply. Therapeutic dosing gets on board quickly, and as teachers are in school longer. So that will be a direct benefit. Of course, then, you know as well as I do, the census of students staying up. Your money continues to flow from the state based on how many kids are here every day. So the whole idea is that we should reduce the number of absent days, and we should see fewer teachers that have to be out of school for longer periods of time. So it will be easily detectable.
Yeah. It sounds excellent. Sounds like something that you've put a lot of thought into it and has been working in some other school systems like Kingsport, which I think our entire county will benefit from this.
Thank you.
Hard to believe how the medical needs have changed and the responsibility on the school there.
When you look at Unaka and Little Milligan and Cloudland, and you think how far out those people really are, particularly in the bad weather time of the year, and now you can diagnose strep throat quickly, rather than taking 2 or 3 days for them to say, well, we need to go someplace and do something. It's done like that. So this is it's truly a paradigm shift in the provision of care, and it's pushing care, 21st century technology, pushing care down to the lowest level. It is a huge win-win for everybody.
I also agree with Mr. Isaacs. I think we're going to have to do a really good job in our schools of getting the information out to parents and selling it to parents, so to speak.
It's real important. 2.2 billable events per school per day is the way it floats the boat. So you look at the aggregate for Carter County, about, what is that, 21 schools. So you're talking 43, 44 kids per day for the whole county and city. That floats the boat. That pays the salary for that nurse practitioner and the lease on the equipment, et cetera, et cetera.
And your practitioner, if I understand this correctly, is going to travel, going to have a schedule of them traveling through the schools.
They will.
They'll be in each school one day a week. Do I understand that correctly?
Except you've got 5 schools. Remember, a pod is 10 schools. So we're going to blend you in with 5 schools out of the county, whichever 5 most easily fits into the mix. Right. So you'll have a nurse practitioner in a school once every 2 weeks. Okay. Those 5 schools.
But they'll be available to our nurses, correct?
More importantly, you have a virtual nurse practitioner every single day.
That's the way I understood it, was that our nurses can have the decision support backup to enable them to feel more comfortable with the diagnosis that they probably already know before they send them to their primary care doctor and send them home.
We know how that is, diagnosing. We know who, we retain that as physicians, but nevertheless, the point being is they know. They've been there, they've seen that and done that, and they get it. But yes, you're right. It's going to make them feel good. It augments and supports, enhances the capability of your nurses.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item on the floor is to approve agreement with Integrated Care Professionals to provide telemedicine service to ECS schools. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve creation of a part-time assistant to the teacher position to best meet the needs of pre-K special education students. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
This will be an addition at each side, which is needed. Go ahead, special needs.
We just had some needs arise through Tennessee Early Intervention Services. They give us a report, and when we've been looking at the report, we are receiving more multiply handicapped children that we will need from ages 3 to 5. And so we have need of another assistant in there to help out with that part-time.
You can help, excuse me.
Is that for the remainder of this year, or?
It will be for the remainder of this year, and we will reevaluate the needs at the end of the year to see whether we can carry that many positions in there or not, but we'll reevaluate at the end of the year.
Since it's special education, you get federal help with this, don't you? Under the special ed law?
Yes, we do receive federal funds to take the money. It depends. We do have a matching general purpose money that we use in order to supplement our special ed funds. We only receive somewhere in the neighborhood of about $475,000 in special ed funds. We probably spend a total of $2 million on special ed. So to just take care of all the needs that we have. So we will definitely be using special ed funds, federal or general purpose, depending on how it makes our budget work. So.
Any other questions, comments? Item on the floor, approve creation of a part-time assistant to the teacher position to best meet the needs of pre-K special education students. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Approve the award of bid number ECSS FY 2014-2015-05 for the purchase of a double-sided outdoor sign to Snyder Signs in the amount of $13,165. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
This is less than $14,000. It was the only compliant bid that we had, and it is going for the middle school. That the middle school has almost as many activities that's academic, extracurricular, as the high school does now. And under the circumstances, that sign, that's relatively inexpensive compared to what we have seen in other places, but it was the only compliant bid, and it'll be a godsend to junior high, will it not, Mr. Walker?
I guess my question is, we do have a sign there now, don't we, Mr. Walker? Just we feel like it's inadequate, or?
The sign we have there now, Mr. Isaacs, is not a digital sign. It's we can put it's basically labeled. I think that's from way back.
I helped Harry find Nick Smith today.
Okay, so this is going to be lighted. And
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be
scrolling.
Yes, sir. It's going to be very similar to right across the street at the church, where we can put academic, athletic. We can inform the citizens, inform the parents of happenings at T.A. Duggar on a daily basis. It'll be great.
Is this an LED readout?
Yes, sir. Very similar, if not exactly, to the one right across the street.
You know, we get the calendars, and there's so many events, but I walk by the high school all the time, and even though I have the calendar, I have a child there, I still take a moment and read them. It's really helpful, plus it lets people know about ball games, especially the elementary schools who use
changes, and we do inform children through taduggar.com, but changes, things happen. We're excited. Mr. Little's petitioned for this for some time, and we're really excited to get it approved.
The location going to be basically the same.
Well,
where the sign is now.
Yes, sir. It's going to be towards that corner. It's going to be ran. The line's going to be ran into the band room, I think, and then
they will assume the cost of the wiring and running the ground.
Everything's included down to the permit to install it. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
My only concern was that we only had one bid and one acceptable bid for an item that's that expensive. But if you say that's a good price, and
we'll check the other that's you up next time around.
Item on the floor is to approve award of bid number ECSS FY 2014-2015-05 for the purchase of a double-sided outdoor sign, the Snyder Signs, in the amount of $13,165. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, approve on first reading Board Policy 2.8001, authorized signatures as revised. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
And we have had a number of changes, and we'll have more in personnel as a result of this. Ms. Wilson, you may want to address this, but we have to have those signatures, do we not? Please lay it on us.
Basically, what this change is requesting is to add the Assistant Director of Schools to our signature card as well, and having the Director of Schools or the Assistant and the Board Chair or Vice Chair, that will allow us to continue banking in the event of someone's absence.
Do you have any questions or comments? All right. Item on the floor is to approve the first reading of Board Policy 2.8001, authorized signatures as revised. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Then if you will notice, we had a couple of additions that we needed to add. Approved selection of one ECS board member to serve as ECS TLN representative for the 2014-2015 school year. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay. This, if you notice, and this is working with the Tennessee Legislative Network representative. I hope everybody took some time to read over that. I'd like to do this a little differently. Basically, if someone feels that they have the time and the energy to devote to this, this would be really helpful. You would really serve as a liaison for our board with our legislators. The folks at TSBA would be working with you a lot. I serve as the Tennessee Legislative Action Committee, and my role is if there is something on the Hill that requires some action, they contact me, and then I contact a representative from each school system. And what we need is someone from our school system who would be willing to put this little extra effort into it, build some reading, but we would have the opportunity to work with other boards to, they were going to be meeting with legislators. We could, possibly join in and talk with them and just kind of get us up to speed on bills and things that are going on down in Nashville. So, anybody feel like they would like to do this?
I probably have the time. I'm not sure about the energy.
I'll take your time. I'll take your time.
Okay.
I make a motion that you be it then.
All right. Can I get a second? That Mr. Fleming gets it. Second. Thank you. Any more discussion? I think we should vote quickly on this. Item on the floor is to approve selection of one ECS board member to serve as the ECS TLN representative for the 2014-2015 school year, and we have a motion and a second for Mr. Fleming. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much, sir. And the last is a discussion item. It is a discussion of establishing a timeline to begin the search for replacement of retiring superintendent, Mr. Alexander. I've had a lot of people ask us kind of, you know, what our time frame looked like, and I've given it some thought. Everybody else can certainly, we need to have to chime in. My thought is that we take this month to our next board meeting and prepare to name an interim in December. Mr. Alexander's last meeting will be in December. If we have an interim in place, then in January, who will begin in January, then we can continue business as usual. The interim position can be appointed. That does not, we do not have to post it. We don't have to do the interviews for that. Then in January, after the holidays, plus we'll be giving you tons of reading material, we should start having some workshops. And on those workshops, then we can sort of develop a timeline. And we have options available to us how we want to conduct the search. We can hire someone to do the search for us or help with the search. We can do it ourselves. Ms. Owen, one of our attorneys, has given us this incredible document, which is a step-by-step process if we choose to do it ourselves. So I believe we'll make that available to everybody to have some time to look at. But, and again, I would love your thoughts, but if I think it would be prudent on our part to appoint an interim in December so that that person can begin to be available to us in January. If you agreed, it is recommended that the person who will serve as interim not be a candidate for the position. So that's something to consider. So if everybody, that's just my thought. Welcome what everyone else would like to do.
Would we would make that appointment, correct?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Would we know by then what central office or system-wide personnel would be interested in the superintendent's position, that their name would be taken out of consideration for the interim?
Well, we can. I know, I'll just go right out and tell you that I have talked with Mr. Van Huss, who has served as our assistant superintendent for 8 years and who's very well versed in the day-to-day running of our school system. He is not interested in applying for the director's position. Therefore, he would make a terrific candidate to serve as interim because I mean, we would not miss a beat, especially since this isn't a position that he's interested in for future. So we do have that as an option. And again, we can consider other folks in the school system. You know, that is just something that's not always a luxury you have, that the assistant doesn't want the full-time position. So that does give us an unusually helpful position to fall into.
The alternative, though, is to fill the position, which I think is not doable.
I think we
between now and January.
Yeah, so. I agree totally.
Yes, appointing an interim gives us a little bit of breathing room. It gives, and bless your hearts, I mean, the two of you are going to be 3 months in, and we're going to start a superintendent search. And it's, I've already participated in a superintendent search once. It is an arduous and time-consuming process, and it's one we want to do correct. 8 years later, I think we did a good job a long time ago, and I foresee us choosing well again. And but we want to, it's very important that everybody really take some time, study that document so that we understand what's ahead of us. We have several choices on how we put some committees together. So there are options that we have. But again, I do think that appointing someone in December will give us that breathing room and will allow us to continue to operate the school system. It's very important for our teachers and principals and students and folks in the community to know that we're going to keep at this level. Yeah, there's not going to be a dip or anything, that we're just going to move right along.
Ms. Pooler, one thing that we might be able to do is if someone within the school system or other, if they contact each board member other than you, or if they will let you know or me, so we can sort of keep a list, and that way we'll have something to present to the board.
As far as interim?
As far as interim for December.
That's kind of where I was heading. I didn't know what the proper communication would be, whether it be with Mr. Alexander or with us. And I'm not certainly
No.
not saying I'm not supporting Mr. Van Huss.
No, sir,
He
but
does
we
a
usually,
wonderful job and is very versed in all matters. But I think we ought to open it up to a fair shot. And plus, people that say I'm going to be interested in the superintendent's job, but they, we would know.
yes,
They
sir.
think they might be. So
Just, I'm not trying to exclude it, but this is a matter of collecting the information together, to be able to present it to you as a whole.
So is everybody agreeable that in December we would look at the appointments, and then that way we can, if anyone else is interested, those names can be considered and we can look at that?
Are you saying in December we would appoint the interim then? Mm-hmm. Okay. As far as the superintendent search, have you ever used TSBA? Because I was reading in the literature that they provide that service.
We have not, but that's one of the things at a workshop we will definitely talk about using them. We'll talk about other consultants.
We actually have,
you have before?
used TSBA.
Okay.
We have utilized
was that a satisfactory experience?
From the outset, they provided a wealth of knowledge and good guidance. Although they are available for you to sort of tap into their expertise, they still allow the LEA to choose which divergent road they're going to take as to how, in depth they want to go and that sort of thing. But as far as putting information out there, as far as our job posting is a means of proofing that information when it comes back into them to see if the applicant has met the criteria that this board would set, those sorts of things. They were helpful on, yes, ma'am, but it is, as Ms. Brewer said, it is an involved process.
What was the LEA you referred to?
Us. Each local education agency.
Okay. There's a lot of acronyms that it takes years to figure all them out.
Yeah, by the time you learn them, they change them.
Yeah, they do, yes. Also, there's the expense, when you do hire a consulting firm, you do pay for it. But when the superintendent search I was involved in, we took it upon ourselves to do it. So, but that's something at workshops. And one of the things I recommend is that, we can have a general just a workshop at the beginning to just sort of start the discussion. We'll probably have more than one. You just about have to. And because there's so much information and we want to do it right, and we'll be very transparent. But I just wanted to get the conversation started. I think it's really important that the schools know that, we're very aware of what's happening. He likes to remind us how many days there are left. 41, but who's counting? And if you feel like it's too soon in December, or if we don't feel like we're ready to name the interim, we certainly don't have to. But I did want us to at least be prepared to have that discussion, and if we could appoint someone, that would be.
One thing that Ms. Brewer didn't mention, but just for the new folks, just even though they did the search sort of in-house, Mr. Cooter still felt, and the other board members did agree with him at that time, we did post our position in national publications, so if we aren't just limiting to a local posting.
How will the staff know to contact us if they're interested?
Once we do a formal posting, that posting goes up in every school.
Okay.
So, as well as being posted on our website, and then I do mailings to various higher education institutions and the Tennessee Job Force postings, things like that. The national posting that we did in some of the national publications, though, there's a cost involved with, of course, that. So we did, I think we did 2 maybe the last time as well. I remember it's been a while. But, that's always an option if you want to follow through with it.
Is that for the interim too?
No, ma'am.
We can just appoint
the
interim.
I'm talking about the permanent search for superintendent.
You're asking if someone within our system wants to apply for the interim?
Right.
Yes, then that.
I didn't say that correctly, but that's what I was asking.
Yes, well, then they could either obviously make a call to our office, but since we post all of your email addresses on our website, if you receive, a correspondence from a community member that way, or a school system member, that would be considered as well by you.
One of the things that I'm going to ask that I believe Mr. Van Huss was the person that received the document from Ms. Owen. We'll send that to the 2 of you to read. It is a rather lengthy document, but oh wow, when I saw it, I teared up. It is a step-by-step This is what you do through this process. So we don't have to worry we're going to miss a step. There are things that you have to do this. This is recommended. This is optional. So, you know, we followed everything when we did the one several years ago, but to have that laid out in this, I almost want to call it, you know, superintendent search for, we're not going to call it dummies, but for board members. So it's, you know, it was wonderfully laid out, and I think it's going to be a tremendous help, but I think it will really help everyone to understand what this process is going to be for us. So that was just my thought. I really wanted us to at least have a discussion. You know, welcome to your first full-time board member meeting, and now we're planning this. So, you know, nothing like jumping right in head on. So.
Do you need a motion to move forward on the 15th of December, or we just put that tentatively in the agenda?
For the discussion, this one that we're discussing?
No, for the interim.
Oh, yeah, we'll just add it to the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. A couple things I'd like to also ask. Normally the December meeting, we usually move it a few days ahead of time because the last Thursday of the month is always right at the end of school. Everybody's ready for Christmas break. I think we've polled everyone up here, and I think we're going to be moving our next December meeting to Monday, the 16th. Did we decide that was the Monday? Did we decide, or is that what the calendar says?
I think it's the 15th.
15th. So it's going to be Monday, December the 15th at 6:30. It will be here in the Mac Pierce boardroom. I also want to remind board members, please see Ms. Perkins. We have a signature card to sign for Citizens Bank. And if we can, oh yeah, we got a picture to take. So,
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
Mr. Day's already left, but should someone correspond with Mr. Day that the $500,000 was a agreement that was made well before the last meeting, and that was I don't know when this brochure was published, but I know it's been out for 3 or 4 months at least.
Yeah, happy to speak with you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And second? Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.